What you see behind me is the Steamship Blidösund, which is one of the first ferries under steam that really revolutionised life in the islands of Stockholm for the people who live there. This one has got a remarkable history, very exciting I'm told, and I'm really looking forward to learning about that because I'm going on board now and I'm going to be their guest for the day. I'm going to have a look at the engines, I hope. Oh, I smell that coal smoke. Coal fired, a real thing. Let's go! Up the gangway, and the first stop is the engine room. Stokers are hard at it here. Look at that fire drawing. And the remarkable thing about the steam engine is it's converting the heat from that fire into propulsive power to move the ship along. And what we've got here are the con rods. The pistons are up the top somewhere. Rudyard Kipling was so impressed with the workings of the compound steam engine that he likened it to the works of God. Predestination in the stride of yon connecting rod. Now we're going down to the bottom to see the full glory of the double expansion compound steam engine. Look at these crank throws. What a lovely sight. And the eccentrics running in oil that are driving the valve gear that makes it all happen. And here's the stoking. Here's Alva chucking in the coal, but she's not throwing it in any old where. You watch her. Every now and again she'll put it somewhere special, just to keep the fire the sort of shape she wants it. There she goes. This is Blidösund in her home waters, powering along through the islands where she was born to work. This area of sea really is, I don't know whether it's unique or not, but it's certainly rare. And it's the Stockholm Archipelago, just one island after another, and all the time you're sailing in virtually flat water. Each island holds a little community, and the communities were serviced by the ship. And here she goes, doing her job. The story of the vessel is remarkable. She was built originally before the First World War and went into service in 1911, which is the same year as my pilot cutter was built actually. But 1911 was an interesting time because the islands were opening up, the commerce was starting to happen and people were starting to visit from Stockholm. Now, there was a problem, and the problem was the existing steamship companies were doing a lousy job. The services were irregular, they weren't reliable, the ships were a mess, and generally speaking, the islanders thought nothing of it. And so the people on the island of Blidö decided they were going to get together and build their own ship and get it right. And this is what they did. They raised a remarkable sum of money and they formed a company and they built this vessel, which, as you can see, is maintained today to almost yacht standard, and it always was. And they were thrilled with their ship, but the people from Vaxholm, who ran the old steamship company, were not going to give up without a fight. And so they kept their vessels coming in, and the people on the island basically boycotted them and gave them a hard time. And it got so bad that when the dodgy ferries arrived, people used to go and sit on the bollards so they couldn't put a rope ashore. Literally sit on the bollards and just kick the ropes off and wouldn't let them come. And they used to stand on the dock and boo them and catcall them. And when the ship came in, everybody cheered and waved the flags, and it was great. And the ship from Vaxholm, at one point they said, well, okay, you don't want us on your dock, we'll tie up to the rocks, which is what you do in Sweden. And there was a nice solid rock wall that they could get alongside, and the locals greased it up They covered it with old grease and old oil so the ship couldn't get alongside. And in the end, they threw in the towel and said, well, if that's how it is, forget it. And so this wonderful ship kept on the good work and carried the commerce of the islands, took them to see their kids in Stockholm, just did the job that an island ferry should do, and did it magnificently. We're approaching an island berth, and the guys are just adjusting the fendering on the starboard bow. You'll see why in a minute. We're approaching the dock now, and the mate's got the bow spring ready to throw ashore. He's just going to throw this short spring line, and you'll be interested to note that there are no dockside mateys. There's just 2 passengers on the dock. Over goes the line, passenger grabs it, chucks it over the bollard, the mate takes up the slack, and the skipper brings her in, and you'll see right now what those fenders are going to do. And notice, they're not balloons or anything, they're solid chunks of wood hanging there to take the strain, and here it comes. Now the mate's chucking the gangplank over, and on come the passengers. Easy as that. In comes the line, and we're backing off. Now then, down in the engine room, it's all happening down here. We're going full astern, giving it everything we've got to back away off that dock, which incidentally is a lee shore, not funny. In a minute we'll be out, the skipper will ring full ahead. Any minute now, here it comes. There goes the telegraph. Topster throws the valve gear, and away we go, full ahead to the next island. This seems an appropriate moment to have a look at how these ships actually manage to berth on the rocks on an island shore. Here we are, berthing Swedish style, straight up the rocks, safe as houses. It would never happen like this in the solos. Great thing about these ships is the way they're designed. You'll see that the forefoot is quite cut away, and that enables them to nudge right up to the rocks, because there are no surprises in these rocks. They're all smooth glacial boulders, and you can push the ship right up into them and go slow ahead and keep it here rock solid, absolutely safe, while people can get ashore if they can. It's a strange thing for somebody from the Solent to see this going on, but it's perfectly safe. Food's always been special on this ship, and today they're going to cook me a steak in the way that it used to be done, as an absolute one-off, so don't think you're going to get one like this. Here we go. I thought it was lunchtime. What am I doing down here? And what is that shovel all about? Well, we'll find out in a minute, won't we? I'm not going to say a word about this. I'm just going to let it all speak for itself. Look at this.
Kommer en fiffeldish.
Tack Totte.
Thank you. Look at that. Here comes Chief Engineer Totta, masquerading as a steward. I tell you what, you won't get a steak like that every day, and it tasted unique. Well, that's just about the end of a remarkable day on the water. We're coming up back Norrtälje Fjord towards our berth for tonight, and I've learned more about steam engines today than I've learned in the rest of my life. And I've had a unique lunch. I've never had a steak like that, not ever, and I probably never will again. It's been great being on board. I hope you enjoyed being on board with me. So long now.